Good morning again, everyone. And I'm going to introduce my model again. It's about a model of a highly sensitive person. And yes, a highly sensitive person in psychological literature, it has a specific term called sensory processing sensitivity. And the person with a higher SPS, they tend to have a higher sensitivity of environmental stimuli, which means they're more alert to their environment, and will have deeper processing, higher emotional reactivity, and higher behavior inhibition. SPS is a kind of a stable trait across your lifespan. So of course, it has its biological foundation. And what is important in this process is a neurotransmitter that maybe all of you are kind of familiar with, serotonin. It's a neuroinhibitor. So what it does is it can decrease your spine density. You can see that picture over there on your neuron. Also, it increases your inhibition control. So this means a lack of serotonin actually means a higher level of neuronal hyperexcitability. Lack of serotonin, higher hyperexcitability. And what determines the level of serotonin in your brain? Here comes to a gene, which is, with its name, and it has two variants, S allele and an L allele. So the S allele represents a lower transportation efficiency of serotonin. Okay, so S allele equals to lack of serotonin in your brain. So my model is basically to model the whole process of how biological level traits influence your behavioral level performance. So as I have explained before, first of all, we have a gene over here, and we have, this is serotonin, it's another name, and it can decrease your spine density and increase your inhibit control, and both of them contribute to the neural hyperexcitability that you have. That's the biological level. And we also have a behavior level here, which is the word state, your sensory input, your environment, and the sensory state, like how much you take into your sensory processing, which is the first characteristic there. Sensitivity of environmental stimuli. Yeah, we model that one as this node. And the next one, sensory representation state, is the second one, the depth of the processing. Okay, over there, the ERS, that's the emotional reactivity that we have. And the emotional reactivity leads to a behavior inhibition state. The behavior inhibition state negatively influences the preparation of action and the execution of action, which is behavior itself. And so how does the biological level influence behavior level? What I did there is the first order variables, the TSS and TSRS. It's an arrow here to the threshold of SS and SRS. It's negatively influence TSS. So you can see that if NH is very high, then the TSS is very low, which means SS is very sensitive, as well as this one is very sensitive. And I also have a second order variable, which is speed factor of TSS and TSRS. So based on this model, I can actually simulate two kinds of people. The first kind of people is highly sensitive people, and another group is less sensitive people. And how do I do this? So what I manipulate is the connection weight between these two. So if remember the gene is responsible for the serotonin transportation. So if I set this connection weight lower, for example, like 0.2, that means it has a lower efficiency. The person is lack of serotonin, then this should be a like highly sensitive person. And if I set it as 1, it should be a less sensitive person. And this is my my simulation results. These two. So we can start from a highly sensitive person. So this green line with the square, blue square here, represents the sensitivity level of this person. It's very high compared to this person, very low. And we can also see the SS, the red line there, is the sensitivity to your environment. It's also very high. And SRS is very high compared to here, the SS and SRS is relatively low. Yeah, and the emotional reactivity here is also higher than the less sensitive person here. And what's also important is the behavior itself. Remember the execution of the action. You can see that it's around 0.2 for highly sensitive people, and it's around 0.4 for a less sensitive person. So my conclusion is, I'm very happy that my simulations work as what I expected. And indeed, serotonin is not the only neurotransmitter that influence your sensitivity. But for example, there's also dopamine might influence this process. But because the research on dopamine is not like they didn't reach a consensus on how dopamine influences process. So here I only take the serotonin into consideration. Yeah, so that was my presentation. Thank you for listening.